Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome back to another Half-Bred Chaos reaction. This is Who is December Holiday in Deltarune? I know I've done a reaction to a bunch of Half-Bred Chaos videos, and honestly, they're fun, so I like watching their videos. But this was a suggestion from my Discord server by Gustavo MS. And again, yeah, it's kind of the thing where we don't actually know that, well, I mean, we don't really know anything about December Holiday besides the fact that it's kind of been inferred that, you know, she was maybe a tomboy or at least very much into sports. I mean, a lot of the potential, fan designs I've seen of her kind of, point that way. But yeah, I mean, it's a character that officially hasn't even technically been named in the game yet. Well, I mean, by a character. There was that whole thing where in Chapter 2, Noelle's walking over switches that spell out December. But yeah, she hasn't been actually referred to by another character in the game at all, basically. So literally everything we do know about her, what little we do know about her, is all just really speculation until the day that, we actually do see her in game, if that day ever actually does appear. So yeah, after all of that, we should probably get this thing started. So of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video, link to my Let's Play of the day. And of course, if you like this video or any other video that I make, I'd very much appreciate it if you gave the video a like and subscribe to my channel, because I know that the vast majority of people who watch my content aren't actually subscribed, and I'd love that to change, because my big goal for this year is to hit 5,000 subscribers, and if Social Blade says it's possible, I'm going to try to believe them. But yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
December Holiday. This name comes up quite a lot in the Deltarune community. But perhaps you've played both chapters 1 and 2 of Deltarune and still feel like you know nothing at all about her. Or perhaps the information is so obscure and spread out you're struggling to make any sense of it at all. Well, cozy up by the fire and break out the eggnog, dear viewer. Because this December, I'm breaking down everything we know about December Holiday from start to finish. Wait, it's February? Gosh darn it. Before we
Of course, that's always how it works, isn't it?
December Holiday is the older sister of Noelle Holiday, Chris's neighbor, classmate, and childhood friend. Although both Noelle and her father Rudy allude to Chris's friendship with Noelle growing weaker and more tenuous over the years, it seems like Chris and Noelle used to spend quite a bit of time with Asriel and December, whom Noelle refers to using the nicknames Azzy and Des. Despite her apparent significance to the plot, it's actually much easier to miss the lore dumps on December than you might think, since all of the dialogue relating to her is completely optional and is thus missed by those who just proceed straight to the objective, without digging into some of that juicy light world content. However, unlike Gaster, I have yet to find a video cataloging and examining all the December Holiday lore for easy analysis, so let's dig into it, shall we? In Chapter 1, Des is mentioned by name twice. First by her father Rudy, when you examine this very unsettling angel doll that lacks any facial features, and he tells you that it was made by Noelle and Des during their local church's youth group. He says he considers it to be a good luck charm, which, we're gonna put a pin in that, okay? We'll come back to this. The second and final time Des comes up in Chapter 1 is with Noelle when you tell her that you saw Susie eating the chalk, and she says,
"Wait, you're teasing me, aren't you, Chris? Like when you told me Icy was real and eats kids, so Des smacked you with a wiffle bat till you stopped lying?"
From this, we can gather that Des likely played wiffle ball, which, for those who haven't heard of it, it's basically like baseball, but for kids who don't have the space or inclination to run around the bases. So, you basically just take turns hitting this ball with a hollow wiffle bat, then tally up the points, and if you miss the ball completely, it's called a whiff.
Oh god. Never played wiffle ball. Never played baseball either. Well, I did once in high school, but that was for gym class. Neither here nor there. So actually thinking about the first times I played Deltarune, and specifically the ones that are on my channel right now, that was one of my problems where I kind of just ran through town without actually exploring the light world. Oh god. That's one of those things I really regret not, like, looking around more.
You might think this wiffle ball thing is just a one-off joke, but wiffle ball actually comes up again in Chapter 2, when Noelle wishes her sister Des were here to see this strange, baseball-shaped moon.
I never noticed that before, that it was a baseball. Interesting.
If we imagine that Noelle's ideal weapons are rings and brass knuckles, designed to augment her punching attacks, then it might stand to reason that December's preferred weapon would likely be a baseball bat or a wiffle bat, a bit like Ness from Earthbound. There's another reference located in the room, Dark World City Baseball, in which characters can play this carnival game where they throw baseballs at these milk bottles to win dolls of the other characters. Oddly enough, unlike a traditional carnival game, the prizes are wrapped up in these colorful boxes, much like Christmas presents beneath a tree, and I can't tell if this is Toby drawing yet another connection between the holidays and dolls or not, especially given that Chapter 2 has even more dialogue for this creepy angel doll, since bringing Susie to the hospital will prompt her to ask why Rudy collects creepy dolls. He playfully snaps at Susie by saying, "Noelle and her sister made that, respect it." But, very tellingly, Susie grows rather quiet at the mention of Noelle's sister, which seems to imply that something bad has happened to her. There's actually quite a lot of dialogue implying that Des is either missing, dead, or both, as unlike Asriel, none of the other characters mention Des having gone off to college or moved away when it comes up. Instead, they refer to her in the past tense and grow wistful. There are several major cutscenes that attempt to draw the player's attention to this. The first of which occurs when Noelle reminisces about the time she and Chris spent playing together as little kids, hanging out with their older siblings behind the cemetery. You can actually see her spelling the word December while she's talking here, as well as a younger silhouette of Noelle when she walks behind this wall. Check it out.
When I said this city makes my head spin, I didn't mean in a bad way, you know? I always wanted to go someplace new, you know? And Des always told me she'd take me. Somewhere like this. Somewhere with shining lights. Don't you miss exploring, Chris? Back when the four of us were kids? Gosh, remember that night we explored the forest behind the graveyard? I know we never found anything interesting back there. I mostly remember crying because I was scared. But for some reason
I can't remember whether or not I noticed that happening the first time.
feel nostalgic thinking about it. Des wiping away my tears with Azzy's jacket with warm sleeves that smelled like cinnamon. Guess I didn't mind being scared if it meant someone would comfort me.
The way she spells December here seems to be foreshadowing to this cutscene later, in which Birdley tells us of a moment when he and Noelle were competing in a spelling bee, and Noelle lost when she was presented with the word December, and suddenly froze up. Because it wouldn't make any sense for her to be unable to spell her own sister's name, this seems to be implying that around this time, December disappeared from Noelle's life, and being asked to spell the name of her dead or missing sister reawakened some trauma, causing her to lose the spelling bee.
God, I mean... Again, at this point, we have literally no idea what happened to her. Whether it was something involving the bunker south of town, or... like, if something else... I mean, for all we know... I mean, she may have not just... For all we know, it might, literally be that she didn't literally go missing. She just got sick too and died as well, like Rudy. I mean, granted, if that actually was the case, you'd think maybe somebody would say something. It was like, oh, this is very similar to when, December passed away as well. Either way, it's still really sad to think about.
There's also evidence implying that Asgore may have been blamed for the sudden disappearance of December Holiday, since we can find a magazine in the police station claiming he was kicked off the force around this time, leading to his eventual divorce from Toriel and the drifting apart of these two families. We can see from Noelle's internet search history that she's apparently been searching for December Holiday quite regularly, which Queen has erroneously interpreted as a desire for a calendar displaying December 25th over and over, which sounds like it would be an absolute nightmare, given Noelle's history. These internet searches for December Holiday also seem to be influencing the sorts of spam Noelle gets. But before we dig into that, we have one final mention of Des in Chapter 2. What is this final revelation? Well, apparently, December Holiday and Noelle Holiday like to stay up past their bedtime watching scary movies together. Scandalous. Now,
Maybe it was just me being, a goody two-shoes and stuff like that when I was a little kid. Well, even now. But, like, I never liked staying up past my bedtime. Like, the thing is, I've always been an early riser. So, for me, staying up late is staying up past, what was at one point 9 p.m. and then became 10 p.m. when I got a little older. Ooh. But, like, I've also never been one for scary movies as well. Though, I mean, maybe it helps the fact that I'm the older sibling of the two. And since I never really did that sort of thing, my little brother never really got into it as well. So, you never know.
Some of you may have noticed I said all the dialogue about Des is completely optional. But how can that be when 3 of the cutscenes are mandatory pieces of plot progression for Chapter 2?
Because you don't see them if you go down the weird route.
Well, remember that creepy, faceless angel doll? This blew my mind when I realized it, but if you play through the weird route in Chapter 2, this is the only piece of Des lore that's at all accessible to you in this chapter. The talk about exploring the graveyard together as kids, the baseball prize-winning cutscene, the spelling bee, the moon, the Ferris wheel, even this extremely obscure optional piece of dialogue on the 3rd mouse puzzle. All of it is completely skipped over if you go down the weird route, aka the Snowgrave route. It's almost like this route does more than erase Noelle's sense of self, it also erases Des, slowly eroding their names and faces until there's nothing left. But hey, that's just
Faceless angel. I mean, I can't remember which video it was in now, but I remember somebody suggesting that, maybe it was in the weird route you discover more things about Des and stuff like that. But if that's the case, where in the weird route you literally don't learn anything about her, that might not be the case.
just speculation. This is probably a coincidence. And this. Okay.
Sorry, what was that?
Speculation. This is probably a coincidence. And this. Probably a coincidence. And this.
Made her own right.
And this. Okay, we'll get to that.
Okay, spammed
Before
in
we
weird.
dive too deep into the cold and dark depths of the Deltarune speculation well, there is more canon information regarding December Holiday if you're willing to include some of the peripheral Deltarune material Toby Fox generates as...
Yeah, I mean, that being said, this video is actually over a year old, so yeah, this might be a little out of date, but we're gonna have to see.
Canon information. So, let's quickly go over Undertale and the Spamton sweepstakes, shall we?
Oh god, this is
Noelle and
sweepstakes
December
again.
Holiday seem to come up twice in Undertale. Though neither of them are mentioned by name, it's heavily assumed by the fandom to be Des and Noelle talking to each other when this Echo Flower overhears the following conversation in the wishing room.
Aww.
Come on, sis. Make a wish. I wish my sister and I will see the real stars someday.
There's also some exclusive dialogue for the Xbox version in which Sans describes a blizzard and mentions an antlered girl and her big sis. This has led some in the fandom to conclude that December Holiday lacks antlers, although since deer can shed their antlers at any time of the year, maybe don't start fights over this theory? Just be chill, okay?
Though, okay, actually, fun thing. Apparently, that sprite is outdated, and in the next update, they're going to be updating it with a new sprite by the same creator. But the funny thing is, no harm, no foul to anybody that believes Des or is trans or anything because of the antler thing. I just point out the only thing I do is I point out that they're supposed to be reindeer, which is another name for caribou, and the females do grow antlers, and secondly, they're monsters, not actual animals. So there's that whole thing about they don't have to be scientifically accurate.
There's also a pretty lengthy part of the often overlooked Undertale alarm clock in which Asgore speaks quite a bit about the holidays and Rudy's eventual passing. But while this is rife with very ominous foreshadowing for Rudy's potentially imminent demise, it doesn't actually reveal anything new about December Holiday. So, link down below if you want to read it. But let's skip over to the juicy side content, shall we? On September 17, 2022, Toby Fox ran the Spamton Sweepstakes, a 24-hour charity and auction hosted on the Deltarune website. As of the time of recording, this website is still up and full of little secrets and
really?
Easter
I
eggs
didn't know that.
either give us a sneak peek at future Deltarune content, flesh out backstories and relations of the characters, or give us super secret little lore nuggets.
Ooh.
One of my favorite ones involves IC, which I already lost my marbles covering before the sweepstakes even began, so I'm not going to rehash that whole thing again, alright? Just click on the doobly-doo if you want to watch a video of me putting on a clown hat and trying to understand IC. That said, if you click on this little advertisement, it brings you to deltarune.com/IC, which appears to be some kind of page for IC sightings, featuring a younger Noelle who recounts a story in which she supposedly saw him wink on a leftover pizza box. This prompted Noelle, Des, Asriel, and Chris to burn and bury it in the cemetery, and it's a very cute story with all these delightful little spelling errors to help reinforce the sense of her younger age. At the end of the article, it provides a hyperlink that's supposed to link to a similar sighting written by her older sister, December Holiday, but clicking on it brings you to a fake error handler, similar to the sort you might encounter when using a broken hyperlink in Internet Explorer. Something hyperlink blocked. The text here reads, the page you are looking for might have had its name changed. And since the name of this page is deltarune.com/December, this may be a hint intended to lead you to the real page, deltarune.com/Des, which brings you to...
It's a red guitar.
A guitar. This guitar plays a song labeled Find Her, which sounds similar to Lost Girl from the official Deltarune soundtrack. So if we put them together, it's Lost Girl, Find Her. The phrase, find her, comes up again later in the Spampton sweepstakes via the Spampton Q&A, which is no longer on the website, but I swear it was real, okay? Look, it's on the official Fangamer account and everything. During the Q&A, the very talented YouTuber, Dorked, asked Spampton if he knew anything about Des Holiday, to which Spampton replied,
Des. That's the one that
Hoochie mama!
always responds to
Free friend finder.
emails about. Sadly, I could not.
Extract personal information.
I would love to know her.
Account number.
It seems like Noelle regularly checks her spam email just in case Des tries to reach out to her online, a theory which is further reinforced by clicking on this hyperlink found in the Peepus bath rug. Here, you will find a blog post written by Noelle in which she writes,
I barely ever receive fan mail. No pressure, guys. But just in case I ever get an email from anyone out there, I have this habit of always reading my spam mail, just in case it's someone real. Mostly it's just weird stuff like Hoochie mamas can get big too. Promise I wasn't looking at any weird sites, guys, okay?
God.
Alright, so there it is.
Yeah, that could be
That is
taken
all
in a really, really weird direction there.
100% authentic, without a shadow of a doubt, canon, Deltarune, December Holiday, lore. However, if you'll allow me to delve into some of the more circumstantial evidence for a
speculation,
minute,
here
there's
we
a
go.
bit more worth pointing out here, which I find to be very, very interesting.
Oh God,
First, is this guitar. This is not the only time a guitar is mentioned. If you give the puppet scarf to Noelle, she mentions that it feels like guitar strings, which she must be familiar with a guitar to know that.
Okay.
So, perhaps December Holiday plays the guitar? If we're reading too much into the item descriptions, she also has some fascinating dialogue about the white and pink ribbons, in which she says they feel familiar. If you combine them into the twin ribbon before equipping them to Noelle, she says, nostalgic, huh? Were these ribbons once worn by December Holiday? Or is Noelle suggesting she used to wear ribbons around her own antlers as a child? Susie seems to imply
that'd be
they're the sort of
adorable.
ribbons that would be worn by a first grader, which might be meant to help us flesh out the timeline of Noelle's strange past. If Asriel is in college and Chris is in high school, then first grade would be around 7 or 8 years ago. First grade is also about when the spelling bee must have taken place, based
Given
on
that
the
they're so
difficulty of the
young,
words
yeah.
here and the size and development of their characters. There is one other very odd piece of evidence that points to Des disappearing around 7 years ago, but it's pretty out there. When you're fighting
Really?
the pop-ups, one of the links Noelle might misclick is a link to buy How to Draw Dragons. In Chapter 1, Birdley actually tells us that How to Draw Dragons is a book Chris and Asriel borrowed a long time ago, which is now 2,583 days overdue. which is 7 years, and though I don't know precisely how, this does seem to be related to Des because Asriel and Toriel have some very odd behavior regarding this book. We've seen multiple times throughout the Light World interactions.
Oh, actually thinking about it, I remember... Oh god, who was it by? Was it by, like, Gaijin Goomba, I think? Like, maybe it wasn't, but I remember watching a video years ago now where it was, like, theorizing or speculating that, you know, the Dreamers weren't goats, that they were actually, like, dragons or something themselves. Which, you know, given their propensity for fire magic, I guess, you know, could make sense. And also, you know, the sharp teeth in the front. Huh, okay. How to draw dragons. It's just Asgore on the front.
That Toriel and Asriel tend to be very strictly adherent to the law and to their own sense of morality. They're not the type to steal, and yet examining this book prompts the narrator to inform us that Asriel will never return this book. Why would that be? You might say it's sentimental, but if that's the case, why would Asriel not bring it with him to college? It seems more like Asriel is trying to avoid thinking about it altogether, presuming this isn't some weird foreshadowing for Asriel's death.
I mean, okay, yeah, so again, it doesn't make sense for him to be dead, at least not before the game starts. But, like, if he was not returning it to not be reminded of it, like, why not return it and get it out of the house so it's less likely that you see the damn thing? Like, if you keep it in the house, all you're doing is giving yourself more opportunity to come across it again.
But what's even weirder is Toriel does it too. If you call her multiple times after entering Castle Town, but before entering the cyber world, she will say, "Chris, do not worry about going to the library. If Birdley harasses you about our debt, I will come and throw a smoke bomb so you can escape." Which is very out of character for her. Like, this implies she knows we stole a book from the library and has no intention of ever returning or replacing it. But why? Is there something special about this book that makes it irreplaceable? Like, were Asriel and Des reading it together right before she disappeared? It doesn't make any sense. What? You think that's a stretch? No. I'll show you a stretch. Ready? Birdley said the book is 2,583 days overdue, which might mean Des has been missing for at least 2,583 days. But hold on. We said earlier that the 25th of December in the context of Noelle's room means December holiday, aka Des. So what about the 83? Is there some hidden meaning here as well? Well, Toby does occasionally slip little references and puns into the game through Goro-wase. That is to say, Japanese readings of numbers. So for example, when Spamton says Watakoshi in Japanese, the 94 here is being used to sneak the words painful death into the pronoun because 9 is sometimes pronounced ku and 4 can be pronounced shi or deaf. So if 20...
God, I swear. Toby and his Japanese translations, why?
25 is Des, then 83 is Herm. Hachimitsu. Bamitsu? Yami? Dark. Like darker yet darker? As in, this is how long Des has been lost in the dark. There's so many potential readings of this, and I cannot for the life of me figure out if Toby did this on purpose or not. Like, I know this sounds completely implausible, but there are so many little weird implications pointing toward Des being lost in the dark. The most unsettling example being the very suspiciously named unused code, which, for those just hearing about this for the first time, reads,
Where am I? Hello? Anyone? Is anyone out there? Someone? Anyone? Can anyone hear me? It's dark. It's so dark here. Someone, anyone, if you can hear me, say something, please. No one can hear me, can they? I guess not. To be honest, I'm not even sure if I can hear myself. It's so quiet here. And yet, sometimes, I swear I hear something. Something like scratching?
God, but that's from chapter 2. It probably means we're going to get more in chapter 3 in another file. Huh.
Toby took the time to translate all of this into Japanese and had Spamton reference it, so I know this isn't just cut content, or at least, no more than Des herself is. As many have pointed out, Noelle has lots of little moments that seem to imply she has a knack for discovering glitches and breaking game code, and the item descriptions only cement this further. There's the spaghetti code, which Noelle describes as looking similar to one of her sweaters. There's the deal maker, which Noelle describes as looking familiar, which I have so many questions about. If you show her the unused items, not only does she have dialogue for them, but,
Okay, what do you mean unused?
Did Chris literally hand this item to Noelle and say, this is an unused weapon that was cut from the game? Or like, can she see that this is an unused item? What is even happening right now? She can see little symbols above the Java cookie. She seems uncomfortable with the everybody weapon, which shouldn't be possible, unless the item description is lying to us. And the dice brace.
Everyone except
Don't
Noelle.
even get me started on the dice brace. I am 90% sure that Chris scrambled it to say, find her, just before they gave it to Noelle. And, if these are puppet strings. Hold on. A red guitar? Excuse me? Toby. He has to be doing this on purpose. Right?
What? What's happening?
Okay, so, way back, in March of 2022, I made a video discussing the 5 shadows here and how each of them seems to correspond to a character and some piece of their past that they are ashamed of. Chris and Birdley are the bluebird, which symbolizes their feelings of inferiority when they compare themselves to their more successful peers who seem to hug the spotlight. Susie's is the house, which represents her difficult home life, or perhaps implies that she ran away from home, etc. But when we got to the orange one, I said it looked like a boot, and wondered if it belongs to Papyrus, before realizing that there doesn't seem to be a consensus on whether Papyrus's boots are orange or red. Using a color picker, this color seems to be classified as vermilion, which is a color somewhere between red and orange, which did not answer my question and caused me to derail my video for an embarrassingly long time. So,
Oh god. It's always color theory. Why is it always the colors that mess everything up?
Did Toby put an obviously orange guitar and name it a red guitar just to mess with me personally?
Well, I mean, just because, like, what its actual color is doesn't mean, like a red guitar, that might be because of, like, the wood it's made out of. Like, actually think about, what does actual, like, red wood look like? I've never, Bee Heart Redwood, Select Clear, Construction Heart, Common Redwood. You look at that. I mean, that's called redwood, but it's like, it's a kind of an orangey brown. And you look at that, like the heart of that, that's pretty red. So, I mean, it might be red because of the varnish. Then again, I may be putting way too much stock into this. Who knows?
Or is his computer monitor just making his oranges display with like a reddish tint?
Oh god, I'd love if, like, all this theorizing turned out to be only because Toby's monitor color settings were just off. That would be perfect.
I have so many questions, please help. The red of this guitar doesn't match the hues of the shadows, Papyrus, or the swatchlings, so I have no idea what to interpret this as, other than a sly wink from a very silly dog. If this is a boot, and this is meant to be Des, then it could be implying that Des ran away from home, or that she clipped through a wall, or that she was crushed under someone's boot. Heck, maybe she was kidnapped by Papyrus, what do I know? The yellow fire is rather ominous with the context provided by the Spampton sweepstakes because the additional link between I see, Des, and a flaming pizza box might suggest that Des disappeared, not in a blizzard, but in a fire, which would explain why Asgore was the one blamed for her disappearance and thus why he was fired from the force. Is this even comprehensible anymore? Alright, I'm taking off the clown hat. Let's try to make sense of this madness. What we know for sure, right now, is that Noelle has an older sister named Des. We know she played wiffle ball, and that if she appears in the game as a playable character, she will likely be wielding a bat. We know she liked to watch horror movies with Noelle, and used to explore the woods behind the cemetery with Chris, Asriel, and Noelle, and was generally protective of her little sister. We know she made a faceless angel doll with Noelle in youth group, and that she disappeared without a trace in some sort of incident approximately 7 years ago. We do not know for sure if this incident is related to Gaster, the unused code, IC, or Asgore, but it seems likely that this is related to at least one of those things. If we read way too much into Susie's statement about your sister being cursed in Dragon Blazers, which is often used as a sort of self-parody of Deltarune itself, then it's possible she was, in some way, cursed, corrupted, or killed. But we're not currently sure which one. We suspect that, like Noelle, she's a reindeer with a Christmas aesthetic who may or may not be missing horns. But because we haven't seen Noelle's mother, we can't be 100% certain of that yet. Most importantly, we know that Noelle has been searching for her and suspect that possibly Chris has been searching for her too. The question is, how do we find her? Well, as I said before, while I was making this video, I began to notice that, contrary to what you might expect, the weird route, which allows us to jump off the track and break the game, might not be the key to saving Des. For all its references to growing stronger and gaining freedom, it seems like this actually pushes Noelle and Chris further from Des and from true freedom. It erases Noelle's face and resigns her to the obligatory role of the Angel of Destruction, destined to bring about the roaring, instead of empowering her to follow her heart and look for her sister.
Yeah.
So if the weird root is her waking to the reality of her powers, then I say, let her close her eyes and drift into a darker, yet darker dream. Let's be with her, in the dark. Holy Congadero, sorry about the radio silence. A lot of you may be wondering where I've been for so long. Well, you see, first I got sick, and then my friend bought me Baldur's Gate 3 for Christmas, and I said to myself, well, I am sick anyway, and I haven't really taken a break from the channel for 2 years now. Maybe I can give it a shot.
Yeah, I know.
And the next thing I knew, it was February. Now, to be clear, I'm still an Undertale channel, okay? Like, I've never appreciated Toby's attention to detail, world building, and making sure every choice matters, more than I was while I was playing Baldur's Gate. But, good gods, it's such a delightful mess. I hope you won't be terribly mad if I indulge in the desire to share some of the more interesting shenanigans I've been up to for a bit. I won't charge patrons for this or anything. It's just, between the fact that I'm moving soon, and we haven't had much Deltarune content outside of the Valentine's stuff, so it would be nice to have a bit of a change of pace, you know? Yeah. Thank you all for your continued support and patience and... Wait, what? Presents? Holy Congadero, look at all these amazing doll sprites. I never thought I'd see fan art of my strange little videos, and now there's so much of it, I can't even keep up with it anymore. Words fail me. Just thank you.
Again, maybe it's just because it's been so long since I've actually played chapters 1 and 2 myself, and also the way I played chapters 1 and 2 the first time around. I didn't know about that like blind-faced doll. And again, the idea, I mean, we never know. Again, like my whole theory about, you know, there potentially being more than one weird root depending on how you go about being weird. I mean, we're definitely gonna have to see how things change, see if we get more chapters, see if we get a special chapter 0. It's all questions, and we're running out of answers. But yeah, that's definitely going to be it for today. So yeah, of course, as always, original videos linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video will lead to my Let's Play of the day. And yeah, with all that out of the way, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.